Hello friend, in this video I want to share a really wild story for two reasons. One, to inspire you to find peace in your own life, and two, because if I don't share this story at some point, I'm gonna forget it. I just know that's gonna happen. So this story really is to inspire you to live your true authentic self. And if that makes you go, oh, then maybe this video isn't for you. But if it makes you go, oh, I would love to live my true authentic self and find peace in this lifetime, then watch this video and I'll see you on the other side. So years ago, there was these books called The Celestine Prophecy, and there was like a whole bunch of them. And I read a few of them. And there's one, I think it ended with this book called Shambhala. You know, it's all very kind of like The Secret and synchronicities and aha moments and tuning into all of life, all that kind of stuff. So if you're not into that stuff, then maybe don't watch this video, or watch this video and just have a laugh, because it will make you laugh, I'm sure. If you are into that sort of stuff, then maybe this is going to be really, really helpful for you. I read those books and they didn't do a lot for me because, personally, for some strange reason, I'm not so much into the fantasy stuff. I like fact. I like things to be real. And I never got into Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, Game of Thrones, any of these things that just don't seem very real. But one thing that was always really real to me was nature and mountains and sunshine and love and compassion and all that kind of stuff, you know. And I experienced a few weird things in my lifetime, that's for sure. Some mystical things that weren't very real to other people but seemed very real to me. And I always just kind of squashed those things, because growing up in the north of England, you know, crazy mysticism and wild hippie theories and just crazy talk wasn't so much encouraged. It was almost frowned upon, and it's a quick way to lose a lot of friends. So by me doing this video, you know, it's really not going to help me in any way unless you connect to this stuff. You'll just think I'm more crazy than you might already think I am. And this is part of the video. Me being my true authentic self and sharing all parts of me that you might not know that are very real to me is in essence the point of this video. We become our true selves when we peel the layers of the onion off and we show our true colors unapologetically, shamelessly, and just say, hey, this is me. And if you can do that without caring about what other people think, your family, your friends, the internet, the potential backlash you might get, if you can speak your truth and just not give a shit, not give a damn about what anyone has to say, apart from hopefully people drawing inspiration for their lives, then you crack the code of living, as far as I'm concerned. And life becomes easier. It becomes more effortless, and you essentially set yourself free. So, I want to tell you a little story. So I'm reading these books years ago, before the film The Secret came out, and I was reading about synchronicities and connecting to nature and experiencing life on a different level to the norm, what the normies see. And I felt that way. I felt like I could manifest before I knew what manifesting was. I felt like I was in touch with the earth on a deeper level than the people around me. And I don't mean that in a hierarchical sense. I mean that in just my immediate friends and family were not having the conversations I was having in my mind, or reading the books I was reading. And I just kept it to myself. I just squashed that stuff down. As I experienced these books, it was all laid out. They were talking about all this stuff. Words like Shambhala, intuition, following your gut instincts, following those synchronicities, those nudges, those cosmic nudges from the universe. And still, I didn't want to connect. It was too real. Maybe I just wasn't ready to actually accept that this was, in fact, a real thing. So I squashed those feelings down. I carried on reading those books, but I carried on squashing those feelings down. And look, I was in a heavy metal band, and this kind of stuff was not on the table of conversation, you know? Look at these beautiful mountains, just to take a moment. Taking a moment to pause to appreciate nature was not seemingly on the table as far as I was concerned anyway. And a long story short, I kept on having these experiences, and I kept on being told over and over again by many different people, oh, you should write a book. And I remember at the time thinking, what am I going to write a book about? But people would tell me this over and over again, all sorts of people, random people I met in the pub, friends, oh, you should write a book. And it just kind of went over my head. I just wasn't ready to even consider being an author as a dyslexic child that I was, to sort of being an author without any thought about what I could write a book on was just, I wasn't ready for that. The second thing that was very apparent on my journey was I knew I had some kind of energy that other people didn't seem to possess or show, let's say. And what I mean by that is I felt like when I talked to people, or if I altered my voice, or if I shared space with people, I was tuning into some life force energy. And I know that sounds absolutely insane, but I felt like I could feel nature sometimes. I felt like I could feel people's pain on a deeper level than what other people seem to be feeling it at. And I could never quite understand it, so I squashed it down. I thought, that's too wild. Not gonna have that conversation today. Whoop! And long story short, my wife and I decided to go to Australia. And we'd already been there, we wanted to go again. And we wanted to reconnect with the people that we'd met. And this is when my Shambhala story started. So it all started for me when I was at the airport. And I went to the toilet, I came back from the toilet, and as far as I remember, this was the moment when everything changed. People talk about an awakening. This certainly was an awakening moment. As I walked through the crowds in the airport, I noticed that people were moving out of my way. And I couldn't help but notice that this seemed very odd, because it was very, very busy. But when I started just to move around, people were moving out of my way, like I was almost giving off this incredible, horrific odor, or more like I was kind of projecting this almost magnet that was pushing people out of the way. And I know that sounds insane, and I'm sorry to use the word insane, but right now this is the only word that is allowing me to kind of paint this picture. People were moving out of the way, and this had never happened before. I had never experienced anything like this. So I got back to my wife and I said, something really strange has just happened. I was walking and everybody kind of moved out of the way. And, she was like, whatever. And I felt high. I felt high as a kite. I realized I felt like I was on drugs. And I don't know if you've ever had drugs, but if you've ever had ecstasy or acid or mushrooms, you feel high. And I felt similar to that without any of the visuals or any of that, that kind of extra stuff. I just felt super, super high. When we got to Australia, things just continued. And this is why I really want to share this, because if any of this inspires you, I want you to Allow this video to be the video that makes you stop and address these things that you're experiencing in your life. Because if you're experiencing anything that I'm about to share with you, there's a reason why you're experiencing it. It's not something that you want to be squashing down like I did for so many years. So we met up with our friends, and instantly they were talking about this water fast. And you know, if you've ever heard of a water fast or done a water fast, it's pretty extreme stuff, but it's pretty amazing. It's pretty incredible that people can live off water. And if you get into that conversation, you realize that some people are breatharians, and they live off nothing but their breath, air and sunlight, which sounds crazy, but it's true. And this opens the doors to realizing that there is more to life than the way that you and I might know, the way we've been brought up, the way that we read in the books, the way we're normally educated or shown. There's so many different ways to experience life, so many different levels of experiencing this thing we call life. I go on to meet all these characters that I've already met. I met them last time I was in Australia, but this time something had shifted. Something was different. So our good friend Bess and her boyfriend at the time allowed us to stay with them for a few weeks. And this girl I'd worked with before, and she was very timid and shy, and she was just kind of quiet. But this time she was talking about how she was opening up a yoga studio, and how everyone had told her that, what are you doing opening up a yoga studio where there's millions of yoga studios? It's just like exactly what Byron Bay does not need, another yoga studio. And she simply said, well, no, I'm gonna make the best yoga studio. And long story short, she did. She made the most amazing yoga studio that's going really strong today, Creature Yoga. Give it a look up. She basically manifested this dream and created it. She visualized, she realized and actualized this incredible vision. So hearing this and seeing this kind of quiet, timid girl turn into this superpower, master manifester, yogi, you know, she was just incredible. We were blown away by her power. It really expanded my imagination. Her boyfriend at the time was a very normal guy, very kind of like, just, you know, what you'd call a normal bloke. And he had an experience one night while we were there. He came downstairs and said, I just had a dream last night where on the farm where I work, the horse and cart thing where we take people around, the wheel fell off and someone was really, really injured, and I feel like I need to call in and just check that everything's all right. And he said the only time that anything like this had happened before was when he was younger, and he was right. He said it felt more like a premonition. So he called up, and in fact the horse and cart had done exactly that, and someone had fallen off, but it was all right, and they weren't gonna, you know, press any charges, so to speak. And as this trip was unfolding, I was realizing that I was meeting these people, and these miraculous, strange encounters were just happening from, you know, every time we're going around a corner, every time we're meeting something, it was the next thing, the next wild thing. And the more I open myself up to accept all of this randomness, coincidences and synchronicities, the more it felt normal and very, very real. Around this point, I was waiting in our friend's car, and I was starting to accept that maybe these strange things in life were actually very real, and it wasn't just me experiencing it or the people in the books. It was these people that I know were experiencing, manifesting their dream life and having these real premonitions, and it was just a very normal thing. This is the moment when a lot of things changed for me. I was sat in their car and I was waiting for them to come and drive to yoga, and I suddenly looked at the tree, and I felt that the tree was saying, look at me. You know, not saying, look at me, but it was pulling me towards it. And I looked at the tree, as I'm doing right now. I mean, actually, just have a look at this. This is something pretty special. And I felt this energy was vibrating and pulsating like you see when you have mushrooms, if you've ever had mushrooms. And I felt connected to the tree. Now, if we really look at life, we are all one thing. And if you watch my videos, I talk about this a lot. We are one thing. The trees, the mountains, the sky, the seas, all of the people, we are basically lots of little cells in a giant organism, for lack of a better word. We really are not separate. That really is an illusion if you think about it. We are all one thing. And the illusion of separation really is the biggest illusion of all. We are, in fact, very much connected. And if, sorry to bang on about illegal drugs, but if you have had any of these psychedelics before, that's one of the main teachings you'll experience, that everything is connected. Everything is one. And if you understand that lesson and take that back into your reality, then life can change in a positive way, especially with anger for another person or frustration to another, to realize that we are all connected, and maybe they are only the way they are because they have been suffering, or they've been dealt a bad deck of cards. So maybe let's turn our anger and frustration into sympathy and compassion, because they are merely a reflection of ourselves, and they're doing the best they can, hopefully. These drugs, nature, can teach us all sorts of lessons. Anyway, this tree was connecting with me. That's the only way I can explain that. It felt like it was trying to connect to me. And the only way I can really explain this, I guess, while I'm talking now, while I'm actually finally letting this out, is I was finally in a vibration of allowance and acceptance where that conversation could even happen. If I was working a 9-to-5 job and I was surrounded by people, coffee machine and noise, this stuff just isn't gonna go in. But if you're free and you're in nature and you're allowing yourself to just be and be open to these kind of conversations and experiences, then you're more likely to be able to, lean into this kind of stuff. This tree was seemingly giving me energy or connecting with me, and I felt it. And at that point, my wife got back in the car and I did this. Look at me, and just looked at her. And I felt like the catalyst for this tree to project this energy to her. And she went like this. Just fell back and went, what the hell just happened? And this was the start of me realizing that I could harness this energy that I'd always felt, but I didn't know what to do with. And I'd been to these meetings before, like spiritual groups, or met kind of mediums and, all sorts of random people. And they'd always said, your hands, you should be working with your hands, and energy healing and all of this kind of stuff. And I was like, yeah, whatever, you crazy fool, you crazy freak. And now I was going, okay, there's obviously something going on that I've not been open to. Jeez, I'm sorry, but isn't that just absolutely something else? The only reason why I'm here is because I've allowed myself to follow my calling. And this is what this video is about. I know it's long, but I really wanted to share this. And if you're still with me, I know you're still with me if you're watching. This is what this is about, is allowing yourself to be yourself, to follow where you need to be, what you need to be doing. I allowed myself to accept that maybe I could connect to nature, my surroundings, in a way that I'd never connected with nature and my surroundings before, and maybe that was okay. And maybe I wasn't a crazy, weird freak, or maybe I was, and that was okay. You know, if you want to shave your head and be a punk or a goth, wear nail varnish and pierce stuff, get tattoos, and you're just in an environment that doesn't allow you to dare to do that, do it. Do it. Be the freak that you want to be. If you want to be more normal, more preppy, and you're surrounded by freaks, do it. You will become your true self, and it will feel all kinds of good. Anyway, long story short, I know I keep on saying that, it's not getting any shorter, is it? I carried on meeting up with these special people, these amazing people. Actually, I want to go this way. And the next person was this girl who also worked where I worked. Again, very quiet, lovely, lovely girl. She used to be a model, and she was just, you know, tall, good looking, quiet, you know, kept herself to herself, made the teas. It was in a organic juice place, and it was all very nice vibes. And so we met up with her, and I shared this experience. And she said, well, I'm a Reiki master. Okay, tell me more. You know, she was explaining it, and I said, I'm very much a visual learner. I need to see things or experience things to really understand. So when people sometimes start talking to me, in the past, self-talk, I've not necessarily been able to compute or retain information. Can you show me? Can you actually, you know, let me experience what you're talking about? It's Reiki master. And she said, okay. And we're in this cafe, and she looked up around the cafe, and she looked like she was doing something. And this cafe went silent. There was coffee machines, there was people talking, there was noise, there was clutter, there was a cafe noise. And me and my wife felt this energy come through the floor, up through both of us. We both looked at each other, went through our bodies. And I looked at her, and she just smiled, and then the noise just all came back. People started talking, and so what happened there? And she said, well, that's me showing you what Reiki is on some level. But what did happen there? What happened with this tree? Am I just, you know, am I lying? Or did something happen? Was this story real? You know, what's happening there? Did everyone stop talking? Did everything stop? All I know is what I can't even compute this, and I feel like I don't need to, because it just was. That's just what happened. So I say, I need to know more. I need to know more. Give me a Reiki session. So she did, and it was my first Reiki experience. She was doing a thing, I was lying on the table, and next thing I know, I'm floating through the sky, and I'm going really, really fast in the clouds. And the next thing I know, I'm in the room, and I'm looking at my body, and I'm up in the corner, and I'm looking down on her working on me. And it's clear as day. And I'm no fear, there's no nothing. It's just what is. And she looks up and looks at me, but doesn't see me, but just looks there, and then looks back down, and she carries on doing what she's doing. And then something else happened. I remember there was, but you know, it doesn't matter, it won't relate to you, but it was, you know, I saw lots of stuff, felt lots of stuff, and it felt good, and I felt stuff clearing. Afterwards I said, how was your experience? And she said, well, I was pulling out all of this smoke, but like loads of it, just smoke. Just so happened I'd been smoking a lot of marijuana for many years before that, and it felt to me like she was allowing me to release a lot of stagnant, old, heavy energy. So I said, did anything else happen? She said, well, yeah, there was a cloud of smoke in the top corner over there. And I said, that was me. that was me. You looked up. She said, yeah. All very normal to her. You know, nothing crazy. You know, yeah, oh, okay, yeah. Makes sense. we go on a walk, and we were just talking, and she turned around to me and said, you know, you should write a book. And I said to her, you must be the 17th person that's told me I should write a book. And what's that about? And she stopped, and I remember this crystal clear. And she looked at me in the eye and said, well, why don't you listen? And then carried on walking. And bang! There we go. That was the pan round the face moment. Is there anything in your life where people have told you to do something over and over and over and over and over again, and you've gone, yeah, but you're not doing it? Is there something in your life that you know you should be doing, that you've thought about over and over and over and over and over again, but you're not doing it? This was my moment to realize that I didn't even know what this book was going to be about, but I had to write this thing. And even if no one was going to read it, maybe it was going to be a healing exercise for me to share some of this stuff, release some of this stuff, so I could accept myself maybe more on a deeper level. I don't know. The next person I see that day was my meditation teacher, my mentor. And within 5 minutes of seeing him, he started talking about my book. What book? You'll be writing a book and you'll be doing retreats and blah, blah. And he started talking about this book and all of this stuff. I said, sorry, I didn't mention a book. And he said, no, but we both know you're going to write a book. Are you kidding me? This is what this trip was. It was everything unfolding seamlessly, majestically, magically, just the next thing, bang, bang, bang. And the only way I can describe the chances of this happening, say hello to this little guy, was because I was allowing myself to be my true self. I was finally allowing myself to just speak my truth and not hide anything and share the things that I really, really thought about. And he told me how to write a book. He said, lay out the chapters and blah, 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 blah. So the trip moved on, and I went to see the woman who helped me get over alcohol. Now, I first went to Australia, and I kind of went cold turkey, and I wasn't like crazy drug addict and say as I'm scratching my neck. I just was very constant. I've been drinking since I was like 14, 15, taking drugs, and just constantly, daily inebriated. And I was so good at it that not many people knew the extent of how bad it was, but it was relentless, and I never stopped until I went on this trip. And so I met this naturopath, and she balanced my adrenals through all this amazing stuff. I don't even know what she gave me now, but it was incredible. And it was all very natural, and we became good friends. So she was writing a book, and she was opening up her own place and all of this stuff. And her husband was seeing dead birds everywhere and talking about these crazy dreams he'd had where he was meeting these Native American people in his dreams, and it was very shamanic. Exactly what I wanted to hear at the time. And we were driving up to the Blue Mountains, and the words on the radio were coming out of the radio, not visually, but they were louder, and I could hear them, and I could feel the words that people were singing. And I was eating meals. I remember eating a Thai meal, and there was a peanut in it, and I could feel where the peanut was going in my body, like I was plugged into some kind of matrix. And the more I accepted, the more I allowed, the more I just let it be, as crazy as all this sounds and as magical and just, insane, the more it happened. And then when I got back to England, it stopped. It's like I left it at the airport. it just went away. And that felt okay, because it felt like that was all I needed. I needed that amount of experience to realize that this stuff is real. So the point of this is not just to share all this wildness with you, but really to be authentically real and say, look, this is what happened to me. And when I allowed this, my life changed. I started helping people heal themselves by doing remote healing, using Instagram, tune in to someone just with their picture or their presence, and allowing them to relax, and something happens and their pains that they've had for years go away, or they get an insight, or their dead relative comes and speaks to them, all sorts of different things, people, colors, feelings. And a few years ago, I never share this. People would just, the people that already think I'm a bit nuts would just be like, oh, he is full on cray cray. But now, I just don't care, because it's just what is. And I've done this for many people, and many people have had many experiences, and this is essentially shamanic healing or Reiki healing, and there's other words for it too, and many people do this, and it's just something that I do. So if that's an interest to you, then get in touch and we can have a session. But really, the whole point of this is I found peace, major peace. Sorry, it's a bad joke. I found deep peace from allowing myself to be myself, not caring which friends I was going to lose by doing so, not caring if the haters are going to hate. And it feels good. It feels really good. And I would just hope that from this video, you could go and look in the mirror and say to yourself, what am I hiding? What am I not allowing myself to be? What am I not accepting? Get a pen and paper, if you still remember what a pen and paper is, or use your phone or your computer. Write it down, look at it, connect to it. Just look at my hand on my heart. That's where it's staying. And just connect to that thing. Who you want to be, what you want to do, what you want to have experience. And just allow yourself to accept it before you even think about doing it. Let's go back to the mountain. Before you even think about actually doing it and living that life, just allow yourself to accept that that's who you are. We talked about being a goth, a punk, a preppy person, a healer, a whatever, a Reiki master. You want to work in a bank, go work in a bank, whatever it is. Now is the time to connect to that person, because that is you. That's the real you. And right now, I'm in South Africa, living my best life, having fun, enjoying work, and being my true authentic self, and sharing all of that with you, with the hope that you will connect to your true self too. So let me know down below who you really are, or who you really want to become, and I'll encourage you all the way. Check out my free training, link below. Subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification, send me a message. Keep being you, keep being the best version of you, and I'll see you soon.